Welcome back to our Game 3 coverage of the 2019 New Zealand Mixed Ultimate Championships. The clash in Kirikiriroa, we have Hammertron Prime facing off against Mixtape. My name is Blem and I'm here with Daniel Clinton to provide your commentary. How you going, Daniel?
Good, Blair. I'm excited for this match. Hammertron are off to a great start this tournament.
Absolutely, coming down with a nice zone. Mixtape swinging the disc backwards and forwards, trying to find those openings, trying to get an opportunity to exploit, to push that disc further upfield.
Well, Hammertron have managed to stop Mixtape. They've stopped them in their tracks. They're going backwards.
That is the key to a good zone, is to try and force that disc a little bit further back, make that defense a little bit easier on yourself. Maybe invite the opposition to take some longer options, which your defense can hopefully eat up. Still working that disc backwards and forwards across the field, trying to find a hole in that Hammertron defense.
It looks like they're transitioning out now, Hammertron. Looks like they're maybe trying to find the match defense. And there's the block. You sensed it coming.
Absolutely. That was Emma Taylor, number 23 in the Hammertron jersey. Now I have it on good authority that she's never laid out in a game before. She might be hoping to open up that bottle during this game. There's Sim to is that Aroha Hughes for the score. Simone Ball to Aroha Hughes. What a nice little poppy pass, caught right there in the corner. Just towed in.
Great start by Hammertron Prime. The top team here in Hamilton?
Certainly I'd say so. They are the hosts of our tournament, and they're hoping to prove once and for all why we are called the mighty Waikato. The question might be asked, what happens when you put a Mixtape beneath a hammer? And I think we're about to see which way that battle goes. Hammertron coming out on defense now. Mixtape lining up with their top offense, ready to try and get an offensive hold for the second point of the game.
You, of course, are heavily biased.
A little bit.
Local
yes,
and
yes, absolutely.
For the Hammertron club. So that's okay, though.
I think as long as you're cheering for the Mixtape, it should keep the commentary reasonably balanced.
Well, speaking of cheering for the Mixtape, I was reading through the rosters and I was spotting names. I'm thinking, gee, that's familiar. And one of which was Sharif Ibrahim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Old New Zealand international is Sharif, and well, he's going to be playing in the middle of the zone here. Hammertron immediately. Again,
easy reset. Yep. Mixtape looking to swing around that zone on the near sideline now.
It's a good zone, this. I like this zone, and Mixtape really have zero answers.
The hammer goes up over the top, no wind conditions, picked up and easily recentered. Swinging to the far side now, looking for a continuation, but there's nothing there. Up through the middle, disc still held on that far sideline. The zone putting in a lot of work, a lot of pressure on that. Swinging closer to the near sideline now, looking for an option. The zone's waiting to catch up, disc moving back.
The Mixtape are starting to settle in. They're reading the conditions.
Putting that pressure in right on the end zone line. But Hammertron forces a reset, managing to push them back. Break throw to the near sideline now, looking for those options.
Oh, there it is!
Carolyn Farris with the Phantom D, managing to put just enough pressure on that offender. Moving the disc to Simone Ball, looking for a long option. Resetting to Lucas Wilcock. And back to the far side, Lehigh Kapoor. He tried to get us to plug his Instagram before, but I don't think we can allow that. Shot up the middle to Mairangi Hogan. Swinging back to Lehigh on the far side.
That is
hammer goes up to an empty zone.
Not the right throw there. He's completely missed. Hammer needed to be out in front if he was going to throw that, and it ended up going straight over the receiver's head. Ibrahim to bring it in back for Mixtape.
Matching with another hammer, but that's caught in on the near sideline.
Oh, that is a speculator that Wilcock has come in and cleaned up. Daniel San running the offense.
Simone Ball with the disc on the end zone is a very scary option. Straight through to Hamish Furness for the score. Second point of the game.
They're off to a good start here, Hammertron Prime. They've got a break now, and well, Mixtape, they looked okay, and then this Hammertron zone is creating issues. It's really, really saggy, and normally with the zone or a zone defense, you'll see the players play down the field, try and force the disc backwards. But Hammertron are placing one player behind the disc on that dump, which is taking away that easy reset. So Mixtape, it's really throwing them off as to what is open. And we saw that big outside end backhand. That's not the throw that's open. It needs to be a faster throw. It needs to be a hammer, something that moves with a bit of velocity, because if it hangs, yeah, you've obviously got Lucas Wilcock in that deep area looking for exactly that kind of throw. So Mixtape, they need to make some adjustments here to really make sure they don't get too far behind too early.
Absolutely. A wonderful pull coming up from Hammertron again. What are they sending down? Looks to be strict match defense this time. Mixtape are looking for some options. Cuts into the middle. Bit crowded, but that cutting, moving through, clearing that space, looking for those other options, keeping moving the disc. Really fluid disc movement, beautiful and precise. Strike up the line, and
that's just no good. He's missed. It's slid sideways out of bounds, too much inside out, and not really enough hyzer on the disc to bring it back inbounds.
Yeah, a little bit too much fade, dragging that out the right-hand side of the zone. A bit more. I would have definitely had that. A wonderful point for Mixtape to start off their side of the game.
This offensive set is interesting.
So this is the Hammertron Hex, prioritizing cuts towards the disc as well as away. Short passes, trying to generate a bit of flow. You can see there cuts in and out, and essentially just trying to make sure that that defense stays on its back foot. If a defense can't set, a defense can't do its job. And so you'll see that during this game, Hammertron Prime are going to be prioritizing little movements like that, just keeping the disc going. There's Manny Taiapa catching that overhead, resetting to Michael Downey, resetting to Beth Williams. Michael Downey with the disc, another overhead to Manny, and a long forehand picked up by Vaughn Wilson, who is a dangerous threat with the disc. Downey catching just short of the zone. Who is he looking for? Another over the top.
Well, it was good. It was really good until then. And then it was really bad.
Absolutely misread the way his receiver was moving. Put the disc a little bit too outside. And it went to ground, which gives Mixtape an opportunity for an offensive hold for them here.
The Hex is something that I've run across before, and I did a bit of research actually before the tournament because it's gaining momentum, and hey, that looked pretty good. The Hammertron, you know, they seem to play it pretty well. I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more of that as the game goes on.
Absolutely. But it's back to Mixtape now, sticking to what looks like a vertical stack. Long shot, retained by Mixtape just outside the fingers of the defender. Waiting for the other players catch up. A lot of disc movement there. Seeing the reset on the far side, getting looked off.
Great grab.
Under pressure, but clean and off the tip of a defender's finger for the catch for Mixtape. That is a heck of a way to start their entry into the game, get themselves on the scoreboard. Yeah,
Brian Holyoke there, getting a little bit fortunate, bouncing off the tips of one of the defenders. So 2-1. 2-1 the score.
2-1. But what a reaction to that. Rather be lucky than good, I always say.
Yeah.
And when you're lucky and good, you can often reel those discs in off a defender's fingers.
Certainly. So, offensive point now for Hammertron. Do they run the hex on O, or is it
yeah,
so when does Hammertron normally run that set?
The hex is the priority offense.
Okay.
So it's essentially a 2-3-2, but you can everybody plays as a handler, everybody plays as a cutter.
Yep.
You can make movements from just about anywhere in that hex, either towards the disc or away from it, and it forms the basis of that zone as well. If they come out on defense and use that hex zone defense, you'll see it sets up as a 2-3-2. You've got your 2 in the front marking off a wall.
Yep.
Trying to force those long shots for those deep players like Lucas Wilcock to pick up.
Yep. So Hammertron now, they're it's give and go. It's hard.
It's up, and Tim with a read. Tim, beautiful way to take that one in.
Sharif Ibrahim just got lit up. Someone get a fire blanket. He's on fire. He's been smoked there. He put his hands in the air to say, yeah, no, that was my bad. And, well, that's Hammertron.
Again, you can see from that point, it was just some really nice flow passes all centered around Vaughan Wilson there. He had Kelly Carter and Maria Smith. Kelly Carter, one of the best female handlers in the country. Not biased, that's a fact. But just working the disc backwards and forwards towards each other until that opens up, and then they can send the comfortable long shot to get reeled in for a nice offensive hold for their third point of the game.
Carter was instrumental actually earlier in the day, helping to get Hammertron Prime over HMC, one of the higher seeds in the tournament. Hammertron Prime coming in as 9th overall, which I think is they're a little bit underdone there. Underrated, certainly. I think that they're a better team than 9th. And based upon their result against HMC and you know, depending on how this game goes, we're going to see, you know, where are they going to sit here in the tournament. So this the Hammertron zone again that's given Mixtape fits so far is again the call.
There's the comfortable overhead to break over that. When the wind conditions are like this, very, very still, it opens up a lot of throws that might otherwise get shut down in the wind. You can use those to go over the top of a zone like this, and Mixtape are putting them to good use. Over on the near sideline, easy long shot to a poach player with nobody covering her.
Nice.
Absolutely beautiful point by Mixtape.
You'd be happy with that. That's a really, really solid offensive point. So that brings it to 3-2. The Hammertron zone looked good. It had good containment, but then Ibrahim breaking with that scuba over the top really opened things up for Mixtape. So they'll play D now with Hammertron. Again, an O point.
I'm very excited to see how this one shakes out. It's a close game. It's anybody's game.
You'd want to hope so at 5 points in. If it was 5-0, that's a whomping.
We've already had our lunch break. There's no need for any bagels this early in the afternoon. And luckily, Mixtape are coming out strong. They're keeping themselves in this game, which is lovely to see. No team is going to win this one without a fight. And the pull goes up.
Good pull. Carter underneath it.
Early first pass to Smith. Back to Carter. To Downey on the near sideline. And back to Carter. So that same hex, that give and go, that very flow-based offense. Long shot out the far sideline over the top of Andrew Johnson.
Downey's not off to a great start here. He's seeing a lot of the disc, but that's his second turnover. As a handler, he'll look to improve upon that. He cannot have too many turns here, because Mixtape are experienced. They've got a lot of years of experience between them.
Every one of those grey hairs is attributable to an ultimate point they've played in the past. And we will see what the strength of that experience brings them this afternoon. But another turn. Shot went far beyond any intended receiver. Hammertron going to bring that up to the front of the end zone. And a quick pass backwards, looking to swing out this side. Back to Michael Downey. Back to Manny. Low shot to Andrew Johnson.
This hex is looking real good. Something that a lot of teams struggle with when playing hex is the flow. Felix Shadlow from the UK is a very big proponent of it, has done a lot of work analysing different hex offences and what works well and what works doesn't.
I think the key is that there needs to be a pretty significant mind shift to play this style of ultimate over something like your traditional horizontal or vertical stacks. You need to remove for yourself the fear of going backwards, which I think a lot of teams struggle with, particularly in those more traditional offenses. Quite often, particularly when you're playing something very flow-based, the ability to move the disc backwards quite often opens things up for you, which you can see Hammertron putting on fine display here. Lots of movements back and forth across the field. Block, beautiful block by Mixtape. The defender just gets up and goes for a long turn, but the rest of his team is slow to exploit that separation. Quick up the line shot to the far side. Long huck goes up.
That's
into double coverage.
Well, it results in a turn. Looks like Gervais underneath that one. Sean Brill, he managed to get the block there and gives it back to Hammertron, who are going to go back to the hex.
Taiapa going up to keep that one alive. Back to Kelly Carter. Swing to the far side. Andrew Johnson with a very long forehand, but he goes. What?
He's dropped it, but I can't believe he got there to begin with. It's been ground stripped. Vaughn Wilson looks great in this hex offense. I think that he gets it.
Vaughn has been quite integral to the Hammertron Prime practices, as I've had the opportunity to see. Very, very calm guy. Never smiles, oddly enough, but manages to keep a positive attitude all the time. It's Mixtapes now. Mixtape's disc on the far sideline.
Brill looking. He does get the reset.
High
Vaughn Wilson.
A chance at redemption after that ground strip.
And Downey's going to call himself a timeout. Okay, fair enough. It's hard graft out there at the moment. The heat is on a little bit. It's fairly warm out there. Blair, we were having a bit of a throw in the lunch break, and
yeah, crack a bit of a sweat. It's certainly not a cold one out here. The sun's coming back out. We are very fortunate to be in a little bit of shape, but the teams out there are not. They are working hard, and with as many turns as that point has had, that timeout, it gives everyone a brief respite, a chance to catch their breath before they go out and get right back to it.
go back to the Sean Brill throwaway. That throw into double coverage, that was yeah, ill-advised, I would say.
And that beautiful layout for nothing.
Wow, the ground strip is, that's rough. I'm surprised he managed to get there. But he made up for it. He got the block going the other way, and we'll reset it to Downey, and Downey called the timeout, obviously, that we're here in the break now. The call is hex, surely, from here.
It will be, without doubt.
Especially with Vaughn on the field. I feel like if they can get Vaughn into that focus position, what I call the focus, I don't actually know what it's called, but that player that plays in the middle of the six, get him there. Get him to run the offense, because it looks really, really good when he's running the show, but it looks like he's going to go out onto one of the sides, and it's going to be Carter who takes the focus.
Quite a lot of the players initiated from a cut from that central position. regardless of whether or not that player is looking to get the disc, it creates openings for the other 5 players around the ring to make a really hard cut for that centre, receive the disc and start that initiation, that really flow-based play that Hammertron are putting on display for us today.
Just comes in.
Taiapa. Carter looked off to Michael Downey, looking up the line, but that's covered. Taiapa again, back to Downey, across in the centre. Long shots going up to Smith for the grab, and Hammertron to bring the score to 4-2 against Mixtape.
Yeah, there's just space everywhere. The Mixtape defense has no idea what's going on. They are confused. They clearly haven't played much against the Hex. In my experience, when I've watched the Hex, it's either been a combination of smart poaching and switching to slow the flow, is what has worked on defense, or just some of the gnarliest shutout match defense you could ever imagine. That's kind of the 2 ways in which to kind of break that Hex down, because playing a straight-up zone defense actually kind of works into the favor of the Hex, because the Hex is all about short passes, movement, flow, keep it moving, and a zone defense is all about get it stopped. So playing that zone, you will give them passes, and really that's what you want to not happen when you're playing against that Hex. You want them to be static. You want them, stall 4, stall 5 before they're managing to find an option. So it'll be young Lucas to pull. It's not in. One of the up-and-coming superstars, Blair.
Yeah, very, very, very strong player. He's only just turned 18 this year. Entirely too tall. It's not really fair, to be honest. I'm trying to mark him. But he's got a lot of confidence, and he's improved significantly over the last couple of years, particularly playing with Hammertron. Mixtape looking to swing the distance. A poach player on the near sideline signals to the handler. Lots of nice forward movement and sort of short, dribbly passes. Trying to respond to the Hammertron Hex by using a lot of give and goes of their own. The long shot goes up and is reeled in on the near sideline, just short of the end zone. Long one goes up too much.
And she knew it. As soon as she threw it, Parker knew it. That was not what she wanted. You see, no. Just completely overcooked it.
The same fade might have worked, but the angler release needed to be a lot further to the far sideline. It would have curved back to hit that receiver, but those combination of little tweaks in that throw meant that it went too long with nobody near it. Hammertron to take the disc now. Kieran McDonald to pick up a first reset, looking for Emma Taylor. For Lucas Wilcock, first look is always upfield, especially when there's Simone ball on the field. Simone Tataki, one of the Hammertron veterans. Far sideline, Kieran McDonald again. There's a lot of pressure on that defense.
But they're not managing to stop the flow. Hammertron is still finding a throw, stall 2 or 3. It's now when, stall 4 or 5, that's where the Mixtape defense needs to get to.
One of the priorities with this Hammertron offense is to try and never let the stall count hit higher than 3. The idea is the disc should be leaving your hand almost as soon as it enters it. And they're putting together a really nice string of passes and opening up that Mixtape defense. Mixtape are trying to put a bit of a zone look on, using some clever poaching. But that's Lehigh to run through, keep that toe in the zone for a score. Hammertron go up by 1.
Yep, that's 5-2, and the Mixtape defense was just never and this is one of the conceptual shifts as well. When you look at a lot of Western defenses, it's route 1, it's 1 or 2 passes, look to score, that kind of idea. And associated with those offenses, if you make the offense throw, 10, 12, 15 passes, that's good. The defense is winning. Not in the Hex. When you're playing in the Hex, it's not so much that they've thrown 20 or 30 passes, because that's kind of what it does. That's the idea of that offense. It needs to be the pace of pass. So the passes, instead of on stall, 1 or 2, you need to slow those passes down. And if they're throwing slower passes, that's when the defense is winning. So large conceptual shifts are going to be required from Mixtape, and this is actually going to be a really nice coaching thing for them. Not that they have many newer players. They got a few that are younger and more recent to the game, but the vast majority are over 10 years experience.
That's the one. We'll see if they can hopefully adapt to it during this point, making some shorter passes of their own, creating narrower windows for those defenders to cut through. Hammertron coming back down in the zone. Kieran McDonald on the chase with Carolyn Farris, applying a lot of pressure to that disc, forcing that backwards pass, but it's retained by Mixtape. Hammertron nearly gets a bite to it. Need to be very careful of those double teams. Mixtape working the disc again, those short passes, trying to shut out those windows so those defenders can't get a touch to the disc. We might be seeing that same mindset shift you were talking about that might allow them to overcome this Hammertron hex zone. Far side looking for options. Hammer goes up.
This is the kind of game that if you're playing on Mixtape, it'd be very easy to get frustrated because it'd be weird. Everything that you've learned and everything that you've played over the last, decade, all of a sudden it's not how it is. Like, what happened here? Why are we back to that stage where you feel like you're lost on the field? They are going to work this one in.
And a clean point from Mixtape using those exact same fundamentals that Hammertron have used to great success so far. Mixtape maybe looking to swing the tide back in their favor, using lots of short controlled passes, looking for those open options early, maintaining that stall count low and keeping the defense on the back foot.
I can't help but feel like Felix Schadler has opened Pandora's box with the hex. Like, and I say this, as an experienced player, you get used to things being a certain way. You just kind of expect things. And I've always said, innovation is good. Right, but there was kind of an unsaid part where it's like, innovation is good provided I understand it and I can fit it in what I know about Frisbee, right? But the Felix it seems like he's opened Pandora's box because Hex is completely new. It is completely different. Conceptually, it's another language. It's like Sanskrit, right? We're all writing over here in English, and he's playing 4D chess. Like, it's honestly, I love it. Like, it's uncomfortable, but it's a good uncomfortable. At least as a spectator and as a fan of Ultimate, to see these innovations and these changes, and can't wait for like the Septagon offense.
Oh, it really is going to change the way the highlight reels look. It's not going to
Pentagon.
prioritize
The Pentagon offense.
Yeah, it's not going to prioritize long looks forever. We're going to see a lot more dribbling. It's going to look a little bit more like some very space-aware sports.
Well,
yeah, well, I'm wrong. Long shots are still open. Line. Puck goes up. Defender goes early, pressures the offense, and that's going to be a turn. Hammertron getting possession of the disc. As you can see, they're setting up in that hex offense again. Tucky Cookson to pick up. Back to Lucas Wilcock. Tucky in the center with the disc. He's looking upfield, having to resort to some shorter options. Emma Taylor to pick up. What a beautiful forehand she's got. Goes in a bit low.
Put the mocker on it there, bro. See, man. Oh, yes! You could wrap that up and put it under the tree for Christmas. It's a gift. That is what you would send a letter to Santa for. Send me one of them, please. I have been a good boy all year, and I want more throws like that.
That one definitely costs extra for postage, I think. Sending something by airmail.
That What a great throw that was.
That is Simone Ball's bread and butter. Just, she can put anything long that she wants. It's beautiful to see. It's really annoying to try and defend against.
Yeah, that's...
Just nice, high, good fade towards the receiver. That's execution 101. If you are taking notes at home, that's the point to watch.
Emma Taylor has come out in a flurry of glory. Defensively, offensively, she is a handful. We're going to have a timeout. So 7-3 the score. Hammertron Prime in a commanding position, the opportunity to maybe take halftime. I'm impressed by Hammertron Prime. This Hex idea is really, really working for them. They're playing well. They've got some good players. Definitely, that goes without saying. The thing that's really kind of created this lead, though, is this Hex idea, because Mixtape, they're there at sea. They need a compass. They need a lighthouse. They need some point of reference to know how do they deal with this. I mean, what do they do?
You were mentioning before, Mixtape has a lot of experience, and you can spend 10, 15 years learning how to defend really well against a vert or a horror offense. You can bracket, you can set up, last back to watch those deep shots, but all of that goes out the window when that's not how your offense are playing.
It's all based conceptually on one style, or one broad style of offense, and that's vertical, space, that kind of idea. Where as the Hex, it's not about vertical space, like horizontal stacks, vertical stacks. It's all about space underneath, space deep. Like, that's what it's trying to create. The Hex isn't trying to create space underneath, space deep. It's creating small, isolated pockets of space.
Around the disc.
Around the disc.
Yeah.
And conceptually, it is different. And I can't help but wonder, as an experienced player, as a coach, if maybe, my own experience would hold me back in this example. I've played for so long in a certain system, conceptually, could I make that switch? And can I do what is required? Or is, the way I think about Frisbee is it's so deeply ingrained that I don't have that flexibility anymore? And it's an interesting question.
Mixtape to brick the disc now. Long shot goes up.
Oh, that is a pretty
big
throw.
Chase, but Mixtape,
it's dropped. Ibrahim to Pooley. And Pooley that was a great card, and she'd done everything right except catch it.
Sometimes finishing it off is always the problem. Hammertron looking to re-establish that flow for themselves, making the defense work.
It's too much sag at the moment by Mixtape. They need to get closer. Playing with this much buffer, the flow is just there whenever they want it. You see it's the first option every single time.
One of the key principles that Hammertron are utilizing here is that when you're defending against something like a horror or a horizontal stack, you don't find that your cutters move all the way back in towards that, what we call the handler space. And so quite often your defenders will sag off your defenders when they move too close to someone with the disc. And Hammertron are using that. Kieran McDonald reaches for the disc behind him. Not enough respect for his speed on that pass.
The throw was off, it was behind.
So not quite enough lead on that one.
And this is what pressure does. And this is what being uncomfortable can do. It's it's going to result in Hammertron now in the red zone.
Possession, very close to their attacking zone. Kieran McDonald gets that separation, takes the disc. Simone Ball with an uncharacteristic drop. Hammertron turning it around, preparing for that defense again. Mixtape looking to line up in a vertical stack. Those initiation cuts are going.
Pooley's got it again. They really need to see if they can get something there, because Pooley is lighting up the defense at the moment. Well, here they go.
That pressure forcing those execution errors. Simone ball to Ian McLaren. And Hammertron takes half.
Yeah, Simone Ball just getting the job done. She's a finisher. She finishes points. She gets the Frisbee, then the point's done. Well, that's halftime. Let's take a break here, I think. So we'll be back shortly. 8-3 the score. Hammertron Prime in a commanding position here in this pool play match.
And we will see if Mixtape can get their heads in and bring it back for the second half.
Stars hollow like holes in the sky. Santa sleep in a sea of shoebox. I'm just so lonely, baby. I don't know how to do it, babe. I just keep on talking to myself. Feels like I'm going insane. Sniffing harder and harder, staining clothes in the mud, joining hands with the joke, sweet truth under the rug. Keep one eye on the future, the other in the past. My third eye on the meaning, and my fourth on her ass. All these girls wanna kill me. Think I better make up my mind. All these girls wanna kill me. Think I better make up my mind. Isabella, don't you cry. Don't you ever think you wasted my time. For the rest of my days, I'll keep you in mind. Life's a ladder, and we both gotta climb. Every man back then plucked a feather and went. So fly lower and swallow the pain. Cross Niagara for me while I'm safe on a ship. Plastic coat blocking tears from my head. Better that than to feel or admit that it's real.
really makes the mixed ultimate, I think, the best version of ultimate. Kelly Carter to receive, to Smith, back to Carter. Johnson to Wilson, looking for a long shot, but it gets looked off. Using those handler resets, keeping the play focused around Vaughan Wilson. Lots of short passes to and from. Those cuts making their way back, making sure that he maintains possession of the disc. Looking for an open, but it's not there. Keeps that disc moving. That Hex offense doing remarkable work. Mixtape still on the back foot. And the shot goes up to Beth Williams for the score.
And Wilson, it looks like Wilson was born to play in this offense. He just gets it. He knows what he needs to be doing. And nice by Wilson.
Absolute beautiful put. Textbook Vaughan Wilson. As far as I'm aware, he came from a soccer background, so that sort of spatial awareness, that constant moving, dribbling, having the disc, not having the disc, having the disc again, has translated really nicely from that background. And you can see it when he puts it on display. Just every second touch of the disc is his. And
well, for the longest time, Blair, I have maintained that soccer players make the worst ultimate Frisbee players for that reason, that they get in the road.
Maybe
and I come from a soccer background, so when I first started playing, it was this huge shift. And I was in the road, so much so that I nearly picked up the name Pothole.
It could just be that your teams are running the wrong offense to match your style.
Maybe we need to sign up a bunch of soccer players and play Hex with them. Felix, if you're tuned in here, because he's obviously from the UK, Felix Shartlow, soccer's the thing in the UK. So
absolutely, there's enough players there who could. We teach them how to throw a forehand. It'll change the game entirely. The pull goes up from Hammertron. Mixtape to receive. Looks like they come down in a horror stack. Quick resets. Looking to punch through the center. Long shots up. Gets looked off twice. Patience with the disc. Very strong sense of calm.
And matched by Hammertron. For what feels like one of the first times in the game, they've been largely in their Hex defense.
A lot of on-field communication from Mixtape, trying to use their voices to help guide players to where they need them through that Hammertron defense. Long shot goes up, and it's picked up by Mixtape.
Oh, Pooley.
Annalise Pooley with the assist.
She looks really, really good, does Pooley. She's got this incredible ability to close the distance. And then a bit of throwing chops.
See that smile?
Yeah.
Look at that. That's the kind of smile that you get after you manage to pick up a really low disc and then score an assist straight off the back of it.
It was interesting there. The Mixtape offense was kind of spluttering out a little bit. And we're about to see what happens in that traditional horizontal set. Is that it runs out of steam at some stage. Like if you really don't get a lot of movement fast, then resetting the disc and maintaining some sort of continuation is really, really hard because everything's so spaced out on the field. Like everything's so far away. But they get out of jail via some great play by Pooley.
And now Mixtape are coming out on defense. They're going to want to try and break Hammertron Prime here and keep themselves in the game. Every point that narrows that margin is a Mixtape point. They're going to be hungry for it. Hammertron Prime took half. Mixtape want this half for themselves. The pull goes up, staying low.
Side stack by Hammertron.
Looks like they're isolating their handlers. Kelly Carter up the far sideline. To Michael Downey. Back to Kelly, looking to jump in, just short. Lots of patience, short disc movement right on the corner of that end zone for Hammertron. Looking for an option. Anne-Marie McDonald with the assist to Michael Downey. Just a beautiful shortcut, receive, instant pivot, and the disc is gone, and that's the score. 10-4.
All your trucking buddies would be happy. Get on the CB.
Roger, Roger.
Well, Kelly Carter, you got the sense that she was about to throw the goal and then didn't quite get the opportunity. Instead, it comes back to the middle and nice easy score there by Hammertron Prime. The mixtape defense, I'm not seeing how that is going to get them success. I'm not seeing how, if they keep running that poachy, saggy style, how it's actually going to create the pressure that they need and create the opportunities for turnovers. I think they need to have a look at that and really go with something else, because this game, we're gonna be at 15 in no time at all, and we're already at 50 minutes, so really only 30 minutes to go until time to cap.
And that really is the the pull gets taken by the wind right up the near sideline, just missing our headquarters over here. Mixtape going to take it from the sideline. In Tron's defending half, that puts a lot of pressure on the Tron on their defense. So this could be a lucky break for Mixtape if they can capitalize on this excellent position. Trapped right up against the sideline.
That disc was there for Ian McLaurin. He elects not to bid. Probably should have.
Really?
Flood v Canale, we mentioned possibly the biggest comeback of all time, which Hammertron were on the bad end of, where they lost a game from 11-2 up. So, in terms of being the victim of a big comeback, Hammertron are susceptible based upon previous results.
It's certainly a possibility, although I think they've probably taken that lesson. I think that's a game that still sits very sorely with them.
Surely after losing from being 9 points up, you never do that again. Surely you only have that happen the one time.
Ideally, you'd only have it happen the one time, but especially with this wind starting to pick up, it becomes anybody's game. Having that wind on the field, it's like adding another defender, depending on the type of defense that you're running. You can see that Mixtape here, they've got sort of 3 people very close to this. They're trying to run something that looks like a zony, is that an arrowhead? Or possibly a cup?
Yeah, it looks like a forced middle cup. Not that Vaughan Wilson seems to notice. He's out there playing his own game.
But I think it might be that wind that's caused Mixtape to bring that cup down. A lot of disc movement from Hammertron's going to tire out that cup, which is the one big weakness of a zone. If you can keep the disc moving, you can keep that cup moving. Eventually, you're playing 7v3, and the people in that cup are just going to get tired, and that's when they start slowing down. When you slow down, that's what creates the openings that Hammertron are hoping to exploit. And you can see they've moved the disc past that cup. That cup's starting to wear a little bit, but the grind never stops. Andrew Johnson back to Vaughan Wilson on the far sideline.
Kelly, space Kelly, more space Kelly.
Vaughan Wilson gestures in.
Kelly Carter to Maria Smith, back to Vaughan Wilson, centering that offense around Vaughan Wilson. Low release break.
And what a grab by Kelly Carter. She has been a quiet achiever here today. I have gone on a little bit about Vaughan Wilson and how great he looks in his hex, but I think that without the supporting cast that he's got around him, without a player like Kelly Carter, she is safe as houses. It's like they're playing handball against a wall at the moment, because every time Vaughan Wilson throws it to Kelly Carter, it just comes back to him, and it's just as reliable. She can play catch all day.
I liken it to a pinball a pinball machine myself, especially when they get those strike cuts coming up the line. It's just binging back and forth between a couple of players. But like when Eliud Kipchoge broke the 2-hour barrier for the marathon, he said 100% of me is not equal to 1% of the team. And I think that's a really important mentality to take, particularly as we watch Hammertron offense. They might be centering it around one player, but it wouldn't work without the rest of the players on the team, particularly when you have real workhorses like Kelly Carter who are going to go take a knee and get those low discs when they're in the corner of that end zone.
Well, Carter looks like she'd be right at home with the rugby union team. She has that great build that is just all power.
Mixtape centering the disc. Back to Holyoke.
The wind is, it's gusting a little bit, but it's not quite strong enough to even be a gust though. Oh no, it's bounced up, and the young man Wilcox has got himself another block. High stall though. And he gets hand blocked on the mark! You could not write about it! He is going to have nightmares of that!
Yana Makar with half his height getting a hand block on that attempt. Mixtape retain the possession. Holyoke with some heavy fakes, looking to move that disc, get it moving. Mixtape are really going to want to move that disc out of their zone. Long shots up the sideline. Those are the ones that we're looking for, keeping that disc moving. Not afraid to swing the disc. Again, that wind's carrying them a little bit high.
The wind is coming from the bottom left-hand corner of your screen towards the top right-hand corner of your screen. It's this weird crosswind, upwind, downwind kind of thing that's gusting a little bit. So it's making things interesting.
Nice disc movement there. Keeping position, keeping smart. Trying to push it to the high side of the field. The high side's where the wind's coming from.
So in this situation, that is this side of the field, Blair. Oh, it's just a run 3D. Hard work, determination, and Hammertron are maybe announcing themselves as a potential to head through on a semi-final spot.
They're hungry for it.
Oh, McLaurin.
Beautiful take. Nice.
Cookson.
Gentle OI on that forehand, curving it back in from the sideline.
Now, I'm not 100% on this, but I'm going to go with it. I believe that Taki Cookson has played internationally as part of some of the New Zealand men's teams, because he seems familiar to me. And I can only imagine, well, we'll go back to the hand block first. Oh! Get rejected, son! What are you doing? She's like half your height. And you... He couldn't throw a high release over someone who looked like she's 5'0" when you're 7'2". Come on, man.
Can we get a clip of that and just loop it for Lucas's 21st?
I mean, that's coming back to you for the next 10 years.
If any of the Hammertron Prime players let him live that down, I'll be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, that... Anyway, coming back, I want to know how many times Taki has made a throw like that. That outside in, into the end zone. He's just so good.
Well, Bruce Lee did say, I do not fear the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. And if anyone has been on the ultimate field long enough to practice anything 10,000 times, it is Taki. But Hammertron sending out their defense now. Mixtape with some really strong disc movement.
Look.
Are they matching hex to hex?
They're going hex. What has happened?
That adaptation that we talked
it's
about
like
Mixtape needing. That
It's
Mixtape needed in the first half to get back in that game. They have come out in something that resembles a hex. Can they make the mindset shift necessary? Long shot goes up.
Is going to stick it to who else? It's Annalise Poole.
Oh, no! Heartbreak on the ultimate field. The shot was beautiful. Might have been a slight misread of the wind, carrying it just a little bit too far to the left of the receiver. Annalise Pooley. Shins back up. She's back on defense now. Are we going to see a turn so Mixtape can bring that offense out again? Oh, it looks. Oh, Michael Downey sending it up. Looking for Kelly Carter again.
Oh, nice awareness. She's been called as in. And Hammertron go back to work. Oh, Carter is just in a paddock. It works out in the end. 14-5 is now the score. Hammertron Prime. They are in Mixtape's head at the moment. I can't imagine that Mixtape have drilled or ran Hex at all, ever. Period. And we have just seen them try and run it on offense. It hasn't worked. And
it was bold, and ultimately...
bold move, Cotton, indeed.
But a bold play when the defense aren't expecting it is sometimes all you need to open up a game. I was really happy to see Mixtape make that attempt. Hopefully they'll come out on that again for the first of what looked to be 9 or 10 breaks for them to win the game.
We're on Sky Sport next. This isn't ESPN 8. This isn't the World Championship of Dodgeball. Covering your eyes isn't going to work out here, Cotton. If you haven't drilled it, surely you can't seriously think taking the opposition's bread and butter offense and then trying to run it yourself is going to work out. Like, you know, surely the Hammertron have been playing defense against this. So if anyone is well equipped to deal with Hex defensively, surely it's Hammertron.
Should be Hammertron.
Was when they started representing, did Hammertron. So they a lot of history there, a lot of stories, and surely there's got to be a national title in there somewhere soon, if they haven't already.
It could be 2019 could be the year with this really strong Hex offense that they keep sending out. If they can keep this up for the rest of the tournament, they might see themselves in the final.
Well, if not this year, wouldn't it be nice to do it next year on your 20th anniversary year? That would be the thing of stories. Surely there would be a documentary to be made there.
A river runs through it, a story of Waikato Ultimate, maybe.
Oh, Vaughan Wilson just awkwardly went down there.
Again, as soon as he gets the disc, his foot is up. He lets go of the disc. He accelerates out of those throws.
Someone needs to run with him here from Mixtape because he's just punching holes with them through their defense with his movement. There's the throw. There's the win. We're done here. Let's go home.
It's a strong finish by Hammertron and Marie McDonald to close out that game against Mixtape.
Well, that's a comprehensive performance, Blair. That is a 15-6 against quality opposition like Mixtape that runs so deep in experience and nous when it comes to playing Ultimate. That's a really nice victory. I think that this could be a year where Hammertron go real deep in the tournament. I think that semi-finals really isn't too far for them to reach for. And well, Mixtape, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board, maybe practice a little bit of Hex before actually
mic next time.
You do have to wonder if that experience worked against them, just considering that massive mindset shift and what it would take to change your defense to really shut that Hex down. I'd love to have seen Mixtape go up against a Vert or a Horo and see that experience, that clever poaching, that really strong communication, and that network of comms and teamwork that they have shut down a traditional offense. Unfortunately, with Hammertron coming out on that Hex offense, we didn't get a chance for them to showcase that today. But a really, really strong finish for them. And we'll be back shortly with the next game of the New Zealand.